What's up YouTube, Capital G here, talking breaker up shoutouts in this video, more specifically a new Solemn card which has got me interested and definitely got me hype. It's got my attention because anytime we get a new Solemn card, I'm like, man, how good is it gonna be? Because obviously we started out with Solemn Judgment that set the bar really high, and then they followed that up with Solemn Warning, and it was like, man, you know, I remember formats where we'd play the Solemn Brigade, and even more so when Duelist Revolution came out and we had Solemn Warning. Like you basically ran as many Solemn Warning as you can. It started out as a $20 card, and then everybody realized, like, holy crap, it's the best card in the set. Like, it ended up being like ultimately the $100 card because people realized the card was so dang good. Now this actually, well, I'm on YG Organization, but this originally comes from the Konami official OCG Twitter page, and they're really active on that page. I like it. It's kind of like, I guess, their equivalent to the Konami blog that we have over here for the TCG, but it's like better, you know what I mean? Like, they basically did this thing where there's about to be a duel with Yuza on the Arc V show, and they wanted people to retweet it, and then based on how many retweets, they would basically reveal some cards from Breaker or Shadows. Now they revealed 3 cards, but this is the one I want to talk about in this video because this is by far the most interesting, and I've already read this card. Like, I'm not actually looking at it for the first time. I am not going to over exaggerate, and this is not hyperbole. This card is broken. This card will not be at 3 forever, and I think that this card is going to be near identical to Solemn Warning. I think it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same situation where you probably just run as many of these as possible. Like, I think, well, you know what? Let's read the card, and you guys will decipher, or you guys will make your own opinions. Okay, it's called Solemn Notice. It's a counter trap. Most Solemn cards are, well, except like the Solemn Scales. That card wasn't a counter trap. It has 2 effects. Let's see. Activate one of the following effects by paying 1,500 life points. Okay, before I even continue, 1,500 life points is pretty damn sustainable. Like, that's pretty moderate. That's a fair amount of life points. Solemn Judgment was fair because you technically would always have half of your life points. There's no way that you would never be able to activate Solemn Judgment. And then Solemn Warning was good because 2,000, you could honestly play 3 of them in a game. You know, there have actually been games. I remember in a YCS, somebody opened with double Solemn Warning and then drew another one, and the opposing player like could never summon. That was in the finals of a match too. So 1,500 life points, you can activate 3 times in a duel and still have, like, you could still have life points for Soul Charge after that. All right. So these are the effects that you get by activating your 1,500. When a monster effect is activated, negate that activation, and if you do, destroy it. Okay, that's Divine Wrath, but you don't have to you don't have to pitch a card. So essentially, Divine Wrath, if this card did nothing else, I would already say Divine Wrath is instantly, like, redundant. Like, it's completely replaced. I mean, maybe you would still play it in Burning Abyss because you like the discard cards and you can trigger your BAs, but if nothing else, this is like a better version of of Divine Wrath already. The second effect is, if either player would special summon a monster or monsters, negate that special summon, and if you do, destroy it. Okay. Now, the thing is, yes, this only negates special summons. It does not actually negate normal summons. But when you look at Yu-Gi-Oh! In the year 2015, what deck out there doesn't special summon? Like, these old school remedial decks that never special, like, they just don't exist. Maybe the only one that you could possibly make like a legitimate argument for like, as far as a meta type deck, would be Yosenju. But even then, I mean, they sometimes exceed. But if you look at all the meta decks, whether it be Necrise or, you know, any of your like Shadow Clownblade decks, even Cleaver, well, pretty much any deck that can pendulum summon, you know what I mean? You look at Cosmos with the emergency teleports and the trying to summon the Forerunners from the hand and all that. Like, every single deck special summons. I mean, we've been looking for a while for answers to pendulum summoning. You know, when your opponent slams the board of pendulum, is like, oh, you torrential, it doesn't matter, I get my monsters back next turn. And in the OCG, they have, like, you know, they have bottomless and whatnot, and Solemn Warning is a good answer to pendulum summons, but you only got one of those, and you only have one bottomless, and this is just another card that can answer that. Your opponent tries to pendulum summon, you know, 4 Cleaforts, 3 Cleaforts from the hand, send them all to the graveyard, they're not coming back. And I mean, a monster effect, we don't play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Without activating monster effects. Keep in mind, this does not negate monster effects on the field. It negates monster effects anywhere. That means if you try and activate a Maxi, if you try and activate an Honest, if you try and activate a Burning Abyss monster in the graveyard, it doesn't matter where your monster actually activates, I get to kill it. I look at this card, you know what? Okay, I may be maybe 3 is too much. But I look at this card. The card is definitely going to see play. Like, I look at this and I look at decks like Cleaforge, where, you know, Konami has kind of they took a baseball bat to some of your good traps with Skill Drain and Vanity's Emptiness pretty much going to 1. And I'm like, man, this card could definitely fit into that. Basically, any deck that plays defensive traps, I would look at this card and think, you can probably find space for maybe 1 or 2 copies of it alongside of a Solemn Judgment, because it's a card where if you draw this card turn 1, it should be live turn 1, no matter what your opponent does. If your opponent is running a deck where they don't need to use the special summon that much, maybe like a Sertellor Knights, well, chances are their first summon's going to use an effect. They're going to summon Deneb. Activate effect, okay, negate with Solemn Notice. You know, you try and summon a Unu, okay, negate with Solemn Notice. Like, this card is amazing. I don't think it's going to be at 3 forever. I think eventually it'll go to like 2, then maybe 1. But this card is fucking OP. Like, if you think that this card is balanced, man, you're kidding yourself. But this is really good. And I think that the reason it doesn't cost, I think the reason the life points aren't higher is because they saw Solemn Authority. And they saw that a lot of people just didn't play it because it was really 3,000 light points was really high, and it was kind of hard to activate, not having any face downs. And they made this card, and I don't know, man, this card is fantastic. Unfortunately, I think it's gonna be like an ultra rare or maybe even a secret rare, because the last Solemn was a secret rare, and Solemn before that, you know, they've printed the Solemns as like high rarity cards. But I'm looking forward to this card a lot. This is like a automatic pickup 3 at your sneak peek or whatever. So let me know what you guys think of Solemn Notice. I can't say like anything else. This card is just amazing. So anyways, thank you guys for watching as always.